right, everybody, I think we're going to go ahead and get started. Hello and welcome, everyone. If you can see me in the bottom right corner of your screen, my name is Corwin Thompson. I am one of the lead marketing specialists here at Monogram. And I'm just going to give you a brief introduction before I hand it over to John Liddell and Jean Stouffer, and they will be speaking to us about turning your passion into a profession. And I really can't wait to hear what they have to say. First, I just want to thank you all so much for coming. I can't believe it. This is our very last Monogram Table Talks after 2 months. It's so bittersweet. We've enjoyed this so much. But we're really excited because, as you can see behind me, we are returning back to work. I'm here at the Monogram Design Center in Chicago. So we will be ending these Monogram Table Talks today. However, I do want to talk a little bit about what we can offer you now that we are back at work. We do offer in-person and still today virtual product consultation. So if you're local to Chicago, you can make an appointment to come into the Monogram Design Center. We can also do any kind of virtual product consultation with you. From the comfort of your own home. We are here with you throughout the entire journey, from product selection to installation and beyond into ownership. And that brings me to my next point is Chef John, who you'll meet in just a few minutes. He can host an in-person or virtual chef conversations or demonstrations. So whether you're exploring which appliances are the best fit for you in your lifestyle, or you've purchased your Monogram appliances and you're not exactly sure how to use them, or you want to get the full functionality of them, you can make an appointment through us to meet with Chef John one-on-one. And the way you do that is, you can see on the screen, there is an email address, the mdcchai@geappliances.com is the email address you're going to use to make these appointments. Please feel free to get in touch with us. The beauty of embracing this new virtual world is that you can be anywhere across the country and we can assist you virtually. That being said, if you want an in-person experience and you're not local to Chicago, please feel free to contact us and we can connect you with a Monogram sales manager or a designer engagement leader in your market who can walk you through some displays that are at resellers all around the country. So that's a really great option. Now, before I hand it over, I know that Teams might be a new platform for many of you, so we do like to walk you through how to use it. In the middle of your screen towards the bottom, you're going to see a toolbar. This is very important. So the first icon you're going to see is the video icon. You can turn that on or off depending. We would love to see your faces, but we understand if you don't want to come join us via video. To the right of that is the mic button. We'd like everybody to be muted in the beginning just because we get a lot of feedback if you aren't. However, as we get going, we'd love to hear from you. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to unmute as we go along. Then to the right, you'll see a hand icon. If you have a question, you're not quite sure when to ask it, please feel free to raise your hand and we'll call on you when we get the chance. If you prefer chatting through the chat box and asking a question or comment, to the right of that, you'll see a little text box. Please use that anytime throughout the presentation. We'd love to hear from you. And then the most important thing is the participants icon to the right of the chat box. This is going to be very helpful to pin Chef John and Jean Stouffer. So with Teams, you actually have to pin the presenters so they show up full screen on your computer. So click the participants button that we were just talking about on the toolbar. Once you do that, you're going to scroll through the names of the participants in the meeting. Hover your mouse to the right of John Liddell and Jean Stouffer, doesn't matter which order. you're going to see 3 dots to the right of their names. You're going to click that and click the word pin. Again, this is going to enable the presenters to take up your full screen, and that's what you're going to want today. But please feel free, if you have any other questions about how to pin or how to use the Teams functionality, just talk to us in the chat box. All right, now I'm going to hand it over to Chef John to begin.
Perfect. Thank you, Corwin. I hope everyone can hear me all right today. I am so happy to join you all. I'm here in my kitchen in Michigan, normally downtown Chicago, but got to come up here and enjoy some cool weather this week. For those of you that don't know me, I am the executive chef for Monogram in Chicago at our showroom. And like Corwin said, I handle all kinds of cooking events and fun events like this. Jean and I have spent many a time in the kitchen together, cooking together, me cooking for her, just having a good time. So I'm very, very pleased that she's able to join us today. Obviously, today's conversation and topic is turning passion into profession. And guys, I'm not a designer. I've never designed a beautiful home myself, but I've designed a few plates of food, right? I've designed a couple of designer hot dogs, so to speak. But like many other creative types, I also followed my passion of creativity into the kitchen and turned it into my profession. I think creative minds access them and use them in the same way. I think from the thought process of design to the ultimate enjoyment of our work actually creates a life of passion, not just our passion. So we get to enjoy that while watching others. We create all different types we creative types, we have all different types of profound feelings when someone shares our work. And it doesn't matter whether you've created the whole home or you've created just that hot dog on the plate. I think from the smallest to the biggest, we all get that. But today we're going to discuss that with the true professional on the topic, Jean Stouffer. I know she's an inspiration to a lot of us. I know I enjoy following her on social media. I know I enjoy having conversations with her and her family alike. We both are fellow Michiganders up here right now, enjoying some sunshine today when we can get it. And so without further ado, I will pass it over to Jean and let her do a self-introduction and kind of kick off the conversation. So thanks, Jean. Go ahead.
Well, thanks, John. And it is very true. I have experienced some very good meals because of you. Some of them right there at the Monogram Center in Chicago and lots of other places too. Well, for those of you who don't know me, I have been a designer for quite a while. I started I got a business degree in college, but then soon after went to work for an interior designer as her business manager. And when I learned just a little bit about what she did, I just got more and more interested in it. And she could tell I was interested, so she suggested that I learned how to draft, which was before computer drawing. This was quite a while ago. So I did. I learned the basics of drafting, which also really taught me a lot of basics about construction. And I was at the office one day when one of my mother's friends called and wanted to make an appointment to have her house refreshed after she became an empty nester. And when I talked to her about it, I learned that she actually wanted me to do the work for her. And because she knew me and she trusted me. And so I just started and became, was my first job ever. I loved it. It turned out great. And I have just continued to work since then. When I started having more and more kids, especially after my third, I really wanted to be at home as much as I could with them. And I learned that in those days, interior design meant having to go to the merchandise mart or to other showrooms. There was no way of doing things at home because there was no online. Can you imagine that? So I knew that I needed to figure out a different way to do things, and I had loved doing anything that had to do with kitchens and figuring out kitchens. So I decided to just focus on kitchens, which meant I could just stay home and draw and design. And I started doing that in earnest in the early 90s and have just enjoyed doing it and learning more and more all the time. I've learned a lot by just studying good work out there. I've learned a lot from appliance manufacturers about all kinds of things, really taking advantage of their training. And I've learned a lot from my cabinet shop, who's made most of all of my things. And a few years ago, my daughter Grace joined me, and we started taking on whole home design that was kitchen centric. And it's been quite exciting ever since. That's kind of when Instagram took off for me, is when we started doing the whole home design. And here I am.
That's amazing. That's such a cool story. I often see your work. We all see your work, but I know we always wonder about the backstory and, taking that leap of faith where, where almost the children kind of led you into staying home and drawing and being where you're at today. I mean, it couldn't have happened more organically. When you kind of took that leap to stay home and find almost your own path through this, are there what skills did you have to have at that point to kind of go out on your own and just to even be a designer? Was it the business schooling? Was it, a lot of your self-schooling? And how did you get to that point to have even the confidence to go off on your own?
I think there's a few answers to this question. And I do have to say that I think having a business degree and business know-how, understanding what it takes to make a successful business and what are pitfalls, was a huge help. So just having that background and having managed the business for that designer for a little while was a great start for me. Because knowing the business of design is definitely half the battle. Because I actually know personally many very, very good designers who kind of didn't do well when it came to operating a business, not because they weren't talented or didn't have amazing ideas or could even execute the ideas. It was that they couldn't manage the business. They didn't know how to run the business, didn't know how to price, didn't know how to collect, didn't know how to pay taxes. So I would say it was really great for me to have that background. And as far as skills for a designer, I think there are a few that are really, really important. And that is knowing how to convey your thoughts through imaging. Now there's a lot of options. You can draw on the computer. You can use computer programs, whether it's SketchUp or CAD or 2020. It's always been hand drawing for me. And as I've gotten bigger, I've hired people to do all the computer drawing work for me, which is very important in this age to be able to get drawings sent digitally. There's no way I could have only hand drawings now in my tool chest. I have to have technical drawings that are very clearly scaled and dimensioned and where people understand what they're building.
Yeah, I love that about the digital age that we're in too, because I have stacks of notebooks from restaurants I've worked at, culinary school, before I had a cell phone with a camera on it, right? And now my library of my work is beautiful, right? I don't even need a description on it because I know what it is. So we just even get to look back and organize our past work so much easier to enjoy it ourselves or reuse it, right?
Yeah, truly. Or if you're, if you're needing a staff to execute what your vision is, what your recipe is, John. Same thing with us. if there are other people out in the field executing our vision, we're not the ones building the cabinetry or building, installing electrical fixtures where they're supposed to go. We need people to execute our vision. And so that's where very clear drawings with very clear specifications are absolutely crucial for success in a project. And I have made enough mistakes where I go to a job site and sure enough, my stuff was not clear enough and things were not done the way in my mind they were supposed to be done. And as a result, I either have to have it redone or adapt my vision to what is actually happening.
Yeah, and I think we all have instances in our personal lives too, where maybe we just on our own project, we didn't exactly get our idea across and somebody says, yeah, we can do that. And you walk in the room, you go, you did do that, but that's not what I was thinking. And I guess that's my fault, isn't it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The other thing oh, go ahead, John.
No, you're fine. Go ahead. You're good.
A lot of people ask me, most of them like either email me or DM me on Instagram asking me, my friends tell me I have such a flair for design. How do you think I need to go back to school? Or do I just start working? And
yeah, that's a good point. Because and then what about the people that have already been in a style of design too? They might come from fashion or other arts or marketing, so yeah, that's interesting. Go ahead.
That's another kind of inquiry I get a whole lot is I've done graphic design for so many years and I really feel a passion towards interior design. How do you recommend I get into it? So, and yes, I've had fashion designers reach out to me. So I think it's a common enough quandary that I think it might be a great thing to talk about. And my opinion is that if you are a very good observer and are very curious and don't mind on your own learning crucial things like specific dimensions about things, there's a lot to learn that's technical about interior design, but there are a lot of ways to learn it without having to spend 3 years getting an advanced degree or getting an interior design degree once you're coming back to school maybe. But you have to dedicate yourself to it and you have to be willing to learn. And one of the things that I thought was so helpful was, in a way, I apprenticed under this designer all those years ago. And it's a great way to go to school without having to sit in a classroom for 3 years and have no practical experience. And so, excuse me.
Possible if you take a couple pictures. And then
Yeah. Okay, this is funny.
Sorry.
Yeah. So maybe John, you talk for a minute, okay?
Okay, I'll do that. I like all of those points, Jean. And once we back up a little bit and we get those basic skills wherever we get them. I found through culinary school that they set a foundation. At culinary school they set the foundation of the skills that I might need. And it encouraged me that maybe I had made the right choice of career. This is where I wanted to be. But what most of my education is in the world. It's in the grind. It's in those jobs like you just spoke about, apprenticeship, and surrounding yourself with people that are better than you. Whether you are the lowest person on the totem pole or the highest, you want to take that into consideration always and surround yourself with those great people. But in the beginning, we're learning from them. We're absorbing them. Some of the best people in my kitchens are the ones that have their work going in front of them, but their eyes are on what others are doing. And they're learning at a higher rate and a higher pace than many others, and absorbing and taking that next step, leap, bound to move up the ladder. One thing that I think And you said it a little bit earlier, with your business degree on the schooling side, you kind of had a wrap on that. You understood the numbers, the accounting, all of those things. So even in a culinary school environment, I took, I like to say math classes, a very simple math in the kitchen normally, but the costing, the cost control, the analysis, that all of that back and, behind the scenes work, to me, was the most valuable, because you know what? I can't see that from my cutting board. I can't see that until I get to a position of executive chef or owner, and then it's all of a sudden thrown on you. Well, I'd sure rather learn those mistakes on somebody else's dollar than my own. So I hope that kind of ties into with what you were speaking about there.
Yeah, it does. Inevitably, we make mistakes. Inevitably, we order a light fixture that's too big for the space and it just cannot be used, or things like that. Or inevitably, a piece of furniture is wrong and it's our fault. And someone told me quite a while ago, "Oh, so you paid tuition for that?" And so it's a very interesting way to think about mistakes, especially for someone who didn't go to design school and who didn't pay tuition to go to design school. There's ways of paying tuition that really actually help you learn maybe a lot better, and that is paying for mistakes. And I've done it quite a bit, and part of being a good business owner is absolutely admitting it, owning it, and saying, that's not right. That's coming out of there, and I'm buying a new one, and I'll figure out what to do with this one that doesn't fit.
Right.
And I think that's actually been a secret for me, is to view that instead of being like, oh my gosh, I just paid $2,000 for something that I can't get any money out of. What am I going to do? Just say, tuition. That was a good learning experience. And because the outlook of it, the mental outlook of that, allows you to go forward instead of being just so upset about an experience.
Yeah, I agree. And sometimes it's hard to have that mindset in the moment, right? I've had plenty of failures, mostly, daily failures, really. You burn something every day in the kitchen normally, but you figure out how to, whether it's that or a restaurant closing, you figure out how to move on and learn from that. Was it my food, or was it my, costing? What was the actual issue here? And, you fail until you succeed kind of idea. Just keep going. But once you've kind of like built those skills, you've been through, you've decided which schooling or apprenticeship route is right for you. You feel that you've built up that bag of tricks, and you feel like you have that bag of tricks because you failed enough to get there. How do you take all those skills and then, put yourself out there? How do you get what you're passionate, or how you create things, and show them to the world, or find a place that you kind of even fit in your design style?
Oh, such a good question. I feel like now's where courage comes in. And it's the courage to do things, to try things with the hope that they'll turn out right. And, if you've tried hard and you've crossed all your T's and dotted all your I's and checked all your specs, and but it takes courage to put yourself out there. And sometimes people can gain courage by starting with friends and saying, hey, I'll help you with this. Let me give this room a try with you. And doing it as best you can. But as far as getting it out there, it means then in our day and age, it means photographing it with your iPhone really well. And I know my son, John, who he and his wife, Maura, are professional photographers for interiors. They do workshops for interior designers on using their iPhone to get images of their rooms. Because there's a definite trick to it. And it's worth the effort to learn how to do it correctly. And then putting it up there. And if you have certain people's products in there that are larger, like if you put a Monogram piece in there, tag Monogram, because if Monogram sees it and it shows their product well, you'll probably repost it. And so then instead of 300 people who might be your friends from college and family who are your followers, then now 29,000 Monogram followers are going to see this. And they'll go, oh, who's this? I should probably look and see what their work is like. So there are ways to get your name out there, but it takes courage. And it takes the willingness to have someone say, like someone did on a post of mine a couple days ago, this wood tone on these cabinets is awful. Why didn't you pick something darker? And you have to laugh. You have to enjoy it. You have to be okay with that, because we picked that wood very purposely. The client loves it. So guess what? That's what's important. And
Yeah.
you just have to be okay. If you want to gain traction, you have to be okay with criticism.
Yeah, it's like ketchup on a hot dog. Somebody eats it and goes, oh my gosh, that hot dog was awful. Well, why? I don't like ketchup. Well, okay, maybe it wasn't the hot dog then, so it's just it's not to your taste, so to speak.
Exactly. And it's a good thing. Not everybody likes the exact same thing. That would be terrible and boring.
There would be a whole lot less of us in the room right now, right? We'd be doing something else.
Right.
Well, that's interesting. So remind me again what was that?
Sorry, I was hoping this might be a good time to interrupt with a couple of questions.
Sure.
Do you guys mind?
Sure.
Okay, great. So just going back to the education piece, this is mostly for Jean. I have a couple of people who, one person in particular doesn't have an interior design degree. She's a teacher and she decided to become a designer. And she has clients who ask about credentials and are there any sort of certificates or is there a need for credentials? And is there anything you suggest when it comes to any type of standard for this?
Well, I would check in her individual state, because I have heard, I want to say it's Florida, something, you have to have something. I don't know what it is. Most states you don't. And when I have gotten that question, I just straight up say, no, I have no credentials.
Okay, I love it.
Here's my body of work. I have no credentials.
It's your portfolio. And
yeah. And just don't, I have a business degree. No, just say, no, this is what I do, but I didn't go to school for it.
Great. I love that. Thank you. And then if on top of that, are there any learning resources like books or anything that really helped you that you could suggest to the group?
Yes. Well, now, pinching to zoom in is a really wonderful thing, because you can learn details from really inspecting other work that you love. Like, I know I've judged some design contests, and we zoom in so closely to see how things are come together, how different materials are transitioned. And so there's so much out there to look at carefully. I used to, before the zoom in technique, I used to get a magnifying glass out with magazines and look at things as carefully as I could. Manufacturers' design guides, especially for appliances, are very helpful. They step you through all kinds of things. And product specifications, just learn them. If you're going to specify a light fixture, go to the product spec, get all of the information, scale it out on your drawing, and just, take the time instead of just saying, that's pretty, and then putting it in the project. Like, figure out, does it work? Is it going to shed enough light? Is this material going to work here? Do they have children in the house? how much upkeep is needed. Just get lots of information, but there is so much available to glean on resources just available to anyone.
Great. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Thanks, Jean. So now that we kind of ironed out, like, you've got your set of skills, we've done our apprenticeship, we failed, we've done all that good stuff. We're figuring out how to get our work out there. And is there anything else we're missing? I know we covered, some of the back end stuff of, taking that leap of going into your passion into maybe your own entrepreneurial experience. And is there anything else out there that we can tell people that they should have in their bag of tricks? On the social media side, like how much should we be investing our time into that social media idea versus some of the other marketing things? And then once your business gets up and running, like how much time should you devote to posting every day? Is there too much? Is there too little?
Well, I can tell you what's worked for me. And what's worked for me is that I only post our work. I don't ever post anyone else's work because I don't want to confuse anyone who may be looking at us to consider hiring us. I don't want them to scroll through and see, oh, that's gorgeous. Oh, that's not her. I want them to understand it. But what I've decided to do, or what's worked out for me, is that on the permanent posts, I do only finished projects, either professionally photographed or photographed with my iPhone in the way that I have learned. But I use stories to talk about process more and in progress, like what we're talking about with DesignWise, maybe going to site visits. I do family things on there. I talk about, if I'm taking a walk and I see some gorgeous architecture, so the story end for me is much more personal and in process and unfinished and kind of get to know me as a person. And it's really interesting because the combination of those two things, the permanent posts that are finished, well photographed projects, and the stories that talk about process and getting to know us, me, most people that then reach out to us and inquire to hire us feel like they don't have to interview me. All they have to know is how much am I going to charge them? Because they feel like they know me and they could get along with me and they could work with me and that I would listen to them and that we would produce something that they would love.
So
sorry, you had more of a question there though. You're talking about how often.
Yeah.
I end up posting about 5 or 6 times a week. Usually at the same time of day, just because it works out well for me to post it at about dinner time. I've already worked and then it gives me if I want to, the evening to answer some comments or some questions, and it doesn't interrupt my work day.
I got it. I always struggle with that one because, I'm up late and I get up early, I'm like, there's got to be other people out there too that, watching the sunrise at 4 a.m. They might want to see that, but I'm told no. I'm told there's not so many people. So I appreciate that one. And remind me again, when did you first sign on to Instagram as part of your business? It's been like what, 15 years, 20 years now?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I used Instagram for I don't know, a few years, just personally, taking pictures of my grandchildren and stuff. And I'd asked my son, John, who really got into Instagram early, and it became a really great source of business for him. Do you think I should put my kitchens on Instagram, John? And this was probably 5 years ago. And he said, no, it's not really that. It's not really a place for that. It's more for photographers, and so no one's going to be looking for custom kitchens on Instagram, so no. And then about 4 years ago, he said, you know, things are changing. I can see things happening on Instagram, and I think you should start putting your kitchens on. So I did that for a little while. And then about 2.5 years ago, he said, okay, it's time to stop taking pictures of your grandchildren in the bathtub for your permanent posts and make your handle not just Jean Stouffer, but Jean Stouffer Design. It's a moment and it's time. So that really was October 2017.
Not long ago.
No, not long ago.
That's insane, because I know you've got more than a handful of followers in that amount of time, and done just a few kitchens as well. And I'm sure John's sitting there thinking the same thing. He went from, no, people aren't really doing so much kitchen stuff, and I bet he's done a few Instagram kitchen projects now. So
Yes, he has.
more than a few. Do you think, I mean, so you were able to kind of just mentally change how you thought about Instagram as he was explaining it and how the landscape and how it was happening. Do you think that it's a good representation of your business? I know you said like people kind of come to you and go, yep, love your work, know everything about you. What's the price? Does it say everything who Jean Stouffer Design is? Is it possible to do that?
I think it could tell a very almost complete story if it's done correctly, if it's curated correctly and managed right, and the stories are, you know, very authentic to actual reality. We do not talk about price costs at all on Instagram. I think that that's probably not the right place for that. But so that's a piece that is not part of the program. That's going to be a really important piece for people to know. But I also think there's so much information out there that I'll say things like, I've been interviewed before, and I say things like, you want to know a great way to cost estimate your kitchen, a kitchen remodel, is you can go online and get retail pricing on appliances. Those are available. And if you know the appliances you want in your kitchen, and don't forget any of them, don't forget the exhaust, don't forget the dishwasher, you know, add them all up at retail and multiply it times 6, that's probably how much your kitchen is going to cost.
Pretty simple math, yeah.
I don't talk about any numbers, but I have concepts that then they can just go do their research and put their numbers together.
And then they can decide if they want to come back to the table with you or not. And
yeah, they can just say, does this, do my aspirations fit into my budget?
interesting. Okay, so
You know what? It pretty much works, you guys. It really is pretty close to working a lot. That times 6 thing.
I've talked with you on that before, and I'll occasionally, you know, sit there and do that math, and it's interesting to see how it comes up. You know, I do spend a little bit of time in appliance stores, so I get to pass the time and see how my kitchen would come out. I have one other question on Instagram side. I just lost my train of thought on it though.
Sorry.
Oh, I know, that's okay. I know, I didn't have it written down. So when we're talking about like managing or having a team that does your social media for you, what does that actually mean? Because somebody that, from my standpoint, like I would love to just be able to create food on a plate, you know, pictures are taken, you know, but still to get your idea of that picture, of that thought out on Instagram, you still have to be a part of it somewhere, right? I mean, you still have to be in there besides just the design. So who kind of helps you and how does that work?
I do it all myself.
Oh no, oh man, I thought there was gonna be 5, 6 people you were gonna tell me about.
No,
Wow.
I do it all myself, and I've gotten into a rhythm, and I try not to spend too much time on Instagram myself, like looking at things, because that can really take a lot of time. But as far as putting my, like the Jean Stover Design Instagram, that's me.
Got it. So
Yeah.
I mean that obviously, I mean we can all see why it's so successful then, because there's no one in the middle. Your thoughts, your presentations, and your design is getting right to the front for people to see. That's amazing. I'm going to have to take that one to heart and make sure that my team stays at 1 too.
Yeah, I mean, I know that there are some huge accounts that there's no way they could manage it themselves. It's just too much. And actually their business is Instagram, you know, so I understand that. But we use Instagram as our marketing tool. So that's why I stay on it.
So I know you have a lot of fun projects. One second, Corin. I know you have a lot of fun projects going on right now, and we're gonna get into those in just a second. But first, go ahead, Corwin. We'll let you ask some questions out there.
Sorry, there's such good dialogue. There's never a good time to interrupt.
Good.
But we have a question from the audience for both of you. Do you have any specific apps that help with posting to Instagram? Anything to help enhance the lighting or sharpness, etc.? Yep, that's the first one.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let Jean answer that one because I found my app from her.
Oh, I use VSCO, VSCO, and I use one filter on there only. So every image I have is filtered the exact same way. So everything looks very consistent. And I think you would just play with it. Like that's part of what John and Maura do with their workshop is they teach things like that. But VSCO has really worked for me. And then sometimes for companies that I'm partnering with, they ask for they ask for stories about how I'm kind of interacting with the product. And so I'll use Enfold, ENFOLD, to put together some really pretty stories. And so every once in a while I'll do something like that.
That's cool. Yeah, I had the pleasure of doing an event with Jean at a local dealer in Chicago. And I don't know if we had like 20 or 25, designers there, and it was all on social media. And when Jean was giving her tips on how to take a pretty picture, I mean, the pens and notebooks were out, everything was flying around. And my 2 takeoffs on it were, of course, the apps that you just mentioned, but you also said, turn your grid lines on. So that you know that your photo is level.
Oh my gosh.
You build these kitchens, like you said, to an exact T. You might as well hold the camera, on the countertop line. And then the other thing you said was turn the lights off. Use natural lighting, right? Don't try to spotlight anything. Just use natural daylighting at the best time of the day.
Absolutely. And then I'd add a third thing, and it's the first thing that you need to do is clean your lens. Because where do we keep our phone? We keep it in our purse, in our pocket. There's like lint and smudge on it. So make that lens crystal clear. And then yes, turn on grid lines because to have it straight, that's the difference between like a good shot and I get the room, but I'm not like, the room is like amazing. It needs to be where your vertical lines in that room are completely straight up and down, completely plumb.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah. All of my pictures have looked better since then, if the food comes out.
I hear that. Good go.
Yeah, those are great tips. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I've also, one other thing, I've also invested, I've got like 3 tripods now that hold the phone too. So, that does help.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's awesome. Wow, I'm learning so much, you guys. Thank you. I actually have a couple of other questions. They are not Instagram related. Are we ready for that, or should we wait?
Oh, please.
Okay. One guest asked, Jean, are there certain markets you favor to find your favorite sources, like fabrics and tiles and things like that?
Well, we do go to High Point to find furnishings and lighting fixtures, rugs, that kind of thing. As far as tile goes, we end up just reaching out to very specific vendors and asking, for sample boxes. For plumbing fixtures and countertop materials and things like that, I know a lot of people go to KBIS, and I kind of felt a lot of FOMO this year because I didn't go, but a lot of people did and were, social media-ing about it. And I was like, why didn't I go to KBIS? So I know there's great tile and faucets and all the kitchen kind of stuff there, plumbing fixtures. So I'll probably go next year to KBIS.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. And then one last question in this round. A guest is asking, how do you attract higher end clients? I get a string of $30,000 to $40,000 kitchen clients, and it's so limiting and uninspiring. Any advice on that?
Well, I think the only way to attract high end, okay, you need to get a high end project under your belt and then hire the best professional photographer you can afford, have them photograph every angle of it, and continually put it up there and talk about the luxury of it all. You'll attract, if you've got one, to tout.
Right?
Yeah. I know it's kind of chicken and egg, isn't it?
Got to start somewhere.
Yeah, right.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, Jean. So, we've both kind of, started off on our career paths and they've taken us in such fun directions. Your projects and the idea of staying home with your children, which made you extremely happy. My idea of traveling throughout the islands and cooking on beaches and, those types of passions and lifestyles just lead us to kind of where we are today. We're, very blessed to work for Monogram. I get to work in kitchens designed by folks like yourself that I would never have imagined that I'd get to do. But I imagine as a creative type like myself, an entrepreneur like myself, that, it's not end of the road. Like we always want to push ourselves and to do more. I know you've got an exciting project with the Madison Home in Grand Rapids, where I went to culinary school, happening right now. Would you tell us a little bit about that project that's going on? And then maybe something else kind of off the cuff that, is interesting to you in design, or another one of your side projects.
Okay. Well, I think you are referring to our Madison project, John.
Yes.
And it has been so exciting, but a contractor that I worked with and was so impressed by his skills and communication, he and I purchased together this 1905 Greek Revival home that sits high on a hill in the historic district in Grand Rapids, and it's 10,000 square feet. And needed just about everything imaginable in it. We've been working on it for 2.5 years. And maybe some people here are following it on Instagram. It's only on stories. I have several highlights of it, but it has been the most interesting, inspirational design project that I've been able to do in a long time. And we're partnering with Monogram on it, and it is going to be amazing. And we're we're close. I would say we're going to be done this early fall. And as I'm rolling things out on there, I'm getting more and more excited as I see the things getting installed that I've been planning and having made and drawing and selecting for literally years get installed. And I'm just about as excited as I can be about a thing. And so it's going to be great.
It's so fun to hear about that and so fun to see the pictures. If you guys have not seen those stories, please check them out. And I think the most rewarding thing about the story is to see that your passion for your profession is still there. I mean, you're still so excited about what you're doing and what you're into, that I think we should all be excited for that we can chase down our passion and really turn it into our profession, but it still always doesn't feel like work, right?
Yeah. And I mean, like when we think about it, when you work on something for 2.5 years, there's been setbacks and pitfalls and budget questions and difficulties and, oh my gosh, you found what behind the wall? Like even me, after all these years of doing remodels of old homes, there were things I was just like, whoa.
Did you have a bail moment, like, oh my gosh, we got to get out of this?
There have been a few moments where I looked at my husband and I just said, what have we done? Oh my gosh. Because you can't buy a house and then rip the thing apart, literally, and then say, oh, I guess that was a bad idea. You have to keep going. You just have to go until it's done. And sometimes it's really hard, but there's just no choice. That's it.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. You can't wait for the helicopter to come and just take you away from the island and you're surviving. Now you're gone. You got to finish the thing. Yeah.
Well, what are you gonna do with all your time when it's done?
Yeah. Well, and just one more thing I'll say before we all sign off here is that I'm so excited because one other project that I've been working on for so long, and now I think it's kind of picking up some steam, is that, one thing that's been really important to our design aesthetic has been this kind of English, British inspired kitchen, done in America here by American manufacturers. And we launched our own cabinet line, Stouffer Home Cabinetry, about a year ago, a really quiet, soft launch. We've had probably 10 projects now. And we launched our own website about right before COVID hit. And now it's really picking up some steam, and we're shipping projects to so many different states and getting pictures back of some beautiful kitchens that we could have never been involved in, just because of their size or where they are or just our workload. But now that we've curated this line of cabinetry and we do the kitchen design, our designers do the design, and communicate with the homeowner, and then we ship the cabinets out, and it is a thrill, and it's really the realization of quite a dream. So I'm excited. Mm-hmm.
That is so exciting. It's all fully customized cabinetry, I'm assuming.
Well, it's we've developed 16 finishes. So there are 18. I'm sorry, we're up to 18 now. 5 wood finishes and 13 paint colors. And then we have specific cabinet configurations, but they're available in 1-inch increment widths, which is very unusual. So it's very customizable, but it's not full custom, so your price point is still pretty good.
Cool.
Yeah.
You are so busy. I've got to like get off this call and start a new project or something.
Well, now I'm an empty nester, John, so I've got a lot more time that I didn't have for many, many, many years.
Well, any other questions out there, Corwin, or anybody got anything they'd like to ask or chime in on?
Yeah, there's a couple more questions in the chat. Jean, I know you like to do a lot of hand drawing, but is there a computer design program that you recommend or that you like the most?
Yes, I've actually, the last couple of years have been really getting into this sketching program on my iPad. So I use an Apple Pencil and I actually sketch, but everything's digital. It becomes digital as I do it. And I can erase and move things, and I'm learning all of its capabilities. And it's really, really made a difference for me. It's called Concepts. And I have the iPad Pro, the biggest one, so it's like the size of a sheet of paper. It has all my grid lines for me on it. And it has all kinds of drawing tools, pens, pencils, markers, shading. And so, I mean, I look so professional now because of that. And then as soon as all of my sketches are done and approved by the client, then I send all of that work, because now it's PDF form and I just export it, to the women in my office who do the technical drawings and put them into CAD.
Very cool.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So jealous of you creative types. Next question. So I'm going to ask this. Maybe you will understand. It looks a little vague, but I'm going to ask it anyway.
Okay.
What price range would you use for good, better, or best kitchen budgets? And I'm assuming they're looking for like a price range of in tiers.
Mm. Okay. Okay. This will be a stab for me, okay, because we only deal on our website. We say on our contact page that we do kitchen projects where the all-in kitchen budget is $125,000 or more. So I would say for $125,000 or more, that would be the high, not the highest, but that's a nice custom kitchen. Very nice custom kitchen with the bells and whistles and beautiful fixtures, great materials. I think you could do, if you went down to lesser appliances, semi-custom cabinets, not so many options and features, you could do a kitchen for probably $75,000 all in. If you had other people doing all the work for you, 75 to then maybe up. And then if you are handy, or your husband is, or you both are, and you don't have to hire a lot of work, you can do a lot of work yourself. My daughter Grace is doing this right now. They don't have a big budget. So she's getting an appliance package that's suitable for her needs now. Her husband's doing a lot of the work. It's a smaller space. I think you could do a kitchen for as little as $25,000 that way. But you're not having a professional help you in any way. It is all you. So you're doing the work, you're doing the design. But I think you could get some cool, she's scrappy. She finds things on Facebook Marketplace. She does, she buys back things from our jobs that are overages and puts them together in ways. So there's a way.
Great. Thank you for that. And then one last question. Do you have any favorite books on design, and where do you get your inspiration from?
I love this book that I use as a resource a lot. It's called Get Your House Right. And it talks about proportions and scale and correct architectural detailing. I use it a lot. There are some Instagram accounts that I'm just so inspired by. So, you can always find those. I've always lived in areas with great architecture that are walking neighborhoods. And that has been very inspirational to me, is just walk around neighborhoods with great old architecture. You learn a lot.
Great.
Yeah,
Thank you so much. You have answered all of our questions.
great. Terrific. Well,
It's been
thank you
so
for having me.
Thank you for coming. I think you taught all of us so much. So you too.
Yes.
John, Jean, thank you.
Yes, thank you, Jane. It was a pleasure having you on. I almost forgot I was hosting the call. I was so entranced with everything you were saying. So I appreciate all of that knowledge. You know, again, not a designer, but it transfers over to the chef world too. So
Yes.
everyone, thank you so much for being a part of the Table Talk discussion today. And again, a big thanks to Jean. I can't wait to be back in the kitchen with you, share a meal with you, any of that good stuff. Love it.
Looking forward to it. Thanks for having me.
All right, guys. So until then, we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.